Alright, welcome to another YouTube video. I am Jonathan from Jarman Productions, and today I am bringing you a rundown of what the Denver Broncos season could look like. This is not necessarily predictions, that'll be a separate video. However, I am looking very much forward to doing that. So, yeah. Alright, so the a good thing for the Denver Broncos starting out is we've got a stronger offense this year. So we've got Drew Lock, who looked good, Jeudy, who we just drafted, who looks good, Cortez Sutton obviously looks good, Philip Lindsay, and Melvin Gordon, and then we also have Noah Fant. So put them together, and as long as they can mesh well together, we could see some more firepower on offense this year for the Denver Broncos. I really hope so. It's been a rough couple of years. So the rundown of the draft class that we got this year is that we drafted 3 wide receivers this year. One of them being Jeudy. Like I said, he looks awesome. I'll go into depth here in a minute, but this is basically just a rundown of the video. 1 center, 2 offensive linemen, 1 cornerback, 1 linebacker. Outside linebacker. So hopefully our defense is going to be a little more stout than last year. It wasn't horrible, but we have lost a few pieces. Again, I'll go into it in a second. However, that's a main talking point, especially losing Chris Harris Jr., which, he may not be necessarily in his prime anymore, but he's still a top cornerback of the game, and it's unfortunate that we lost him, but I understand his choices. All right, so as for a few downsides of the Denver Broncos, why this season could not work out just like the last couple of seasons is last year, Vic Fangio's defense, it was good. However, Von Miller really suffered from it because Vic Fangio dropped him back in coverage a lot more than just rushing, pass rushing him. That's what Von Miller is a pass rusher, and Vic Fangio seemed to drop him in coverage more rather than playing to Von Miller's strengths. He's kind of, Vic Fangio seems like he wanted to do his defense the way he wanted to, regardless of what player got affected by it. But hopefully that's not the case this year. So one of the other negative points that I jotted down is also one of the strong points that I just mentioned. It's a young core, young teammates. And their new teammates also. So, as far as I know, Jeudy and Drew Lock have not caught or received a pass from one another. So, that could affect the season. But we will see. I highly doubt it. But that's always a possibility. You just got to stay realistic, pretty much. Okay. So now we're going to go into the rundown of all of the younger Broncos. So Jeudy, he was fantastic in college. In just 3 years, he had 2,742 receiving yards, 26 touchdowns, and he averaged 17.2 yards per reception. And 2 of those seasons, he didn't even play the full season. So he was elite in college. There's no other way to say it or go around it. So whether that translates over to the NFL, we don't know yet, obviously, but hopefully Jeudy's route running will help him be separated from a lot of the rookie wide receivers instead of being drowned out by by the cornerbacks and the safeties, and like a lot of wide receiver rookies do. So next up, we have got Drew Lock and his potential. So last season, he only got to see the light of day on the field for 5 games. However, in those 5 games, he went 4-1. Not too shabby. He had an 89.7 QBR, which is not the greatest, but it is definitely not the worst. He had a touchdown interception ratio of 7-3. So he only threw 3 picks in those 5 games, which is not the greatest, but He had 64.1% completion percentage, and he had around 1,000 yards throwing in just 5 games. So, hopefully it's not just some flash of what could have been. Hopefully he is able to carry on and keep going. So, yeah, he's a young quarterback, and of course there's always a little bit of doubt whenever it comes to young quarterbacks, because no matter how good they are in college, most of them fizzle out. Hopefully that's not the case for Drew Lock, but only time will tell. So next up, we have got Philip Lindsay, who, if you're a Broncos fan and you don't know who Philip Lindsay is, you're not really a fan, because this dude has been absolutely popping off the last 2 years. He has had 2,048 rush yards in 2 seasons, in both of his seasons in the NFL. He has had 437 reception yards, 16 touchdowns, and my goodness, this is so amazing to say, Philip Lindsay has had 0 lost fumbles. So he's a good back. He's a feisty little fella. He was undrafted. He made the Pro Bowl in his first year, after being undrafted, and he's got that dog mentality in him, and that's plain and simple. It's very apparent. You can see it on his face. You can see it on the field. You can see it off the field. Dude is a hard worker, plain and simple. So moving on, next I've got a couple notes about Cortez Sutton. He is also going into his 3rd year, just like Philip Lindsay. And Cortez Sutton, not only is he a deep threat... Hello, kitty. Get down. Not only is he a deep threat, but he is also a fantastic pass... Not really pass blocker, but he fills the lanes whenever his teammates are running down the field, and they need him to cover a guy and prevent them from tackling him. In his 2 seasons, he has had 1,816 yards. He had one 1,000-yard season, which was the most recent season, and he has 10 touchdowns, which isn't too bad if you think about it, because in his first year, he had both Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders to kind of compete with for touches on the football. In his second season, for half of the season, he had Emmanuel Sanders to compete with. So not too bad for the young fellow who didn't get too many touches in his first year. I mean, he only had around 800 receiving yards in his first season. So to see him make that jump in the second season, even with half of it being with Emmanuel Sanders, it's quite an awesome thing to watch happen, because he's going to be a threat in the league for as long as he's got work ethic. That's just plain and simple. He's just going to be great. So moving on to Noah Fant. Last season was his inaugural season to the NFL. He was a rookie and he had 562 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and 40 receiving yards. So, he's not quite the greatest yet, but he definitely filled some holes where we needed them whenever it came to receiving power, because after Emmanuel Sanders left, and this is no shade to Deshaun Hamilton or any of the other receivers, but there's no shade thrown to them. They're good receivers, and they filled holes, but to get that star power in there, we really needed that, and that's why Noah Fant coming in is good, Jeudy coming in is good, Cortez Sutton starting to step up. That's very good, and all in all, it's looking to be a good season, and I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. I'm trying not to, but as any other sports fan is, they get excited for their team, and that's just that. You've got a favorite team for a reason, plain and simple. So, wrapping it up, we've got the defense. Now the defense, we did have a few losses. We lost Chris Harris Jr., Derek Wolfe, and Adam Gotsis. The two most impactful being obviously Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe. I understand their decision. It's been a rough couple years to be a Bronco or a Broncos fan. But it still stings a little bit. They were part of the Super Bowl 50 team. Well, Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe were. However, that does not mean that there's not something to look forward to. So on defense for the defensive backs, we have got A.J. Bouye, Kareem Jackson, and Justin Simmons to look forward to. Although Justin Simmons and the Broncos did not strike a deal before free agency, and I think Justin Simmons is a little heated about that. He's still signed his franchise tag, so he's going to be playing for the Broncos this year. We'll see what happens, in regards to an extension or just a new contract. But yeah, he's here this year, so we've got that to look forward to. And then we're also getting back Bradley Chubb, who was out last year. He tore his ACL very early in the season. And, number 58, Von Miller, he's a beast. As I mentioned in earlier in the video, hopefully Vic Fangio's defense doesn't interfere with him too much. I'm hoping that it was just some sort of adjustment phase, and they're really going to kick it into gear and get going, get firing on all cylinders, and hopefully Von Miller tears some quarterbacks up. So yeah, that's going to do it for this season rundown, season preview, whatever you may want to call it. I think there is a lot to look forward to. I'm not saying that we're going to be Super Bowl champs this year. I'm just not that sort of unrealistic fan. However, I think we might be upwards of 9 or 10 wins this year rather than... Well, I guess we were 9 wins last season, so I'm going to say 10 or 11 wins. Because, we've just got a more rounded team, I think. Especially the pickups of the offensive linemen in the draft. I think that's going to help a lot. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to like and to subscribe. My social medias will be in the description below. I will have some videos coming out on, predictions of the season. And I'm also going to be doing a review of a drone. So there's that to look forward to if you're into drones. That's cool. And then also, I'm going to be doing some gaming on this channel as well. So I'm going to be a more variety channel. I'm not going to be centric towards one thing. As of now, at least, I'm going to do what I want to do, and once one starts succeeding, I will focus on that next. So yes, like I said, stay tuned for more videos, and have a good day.